My brother stole our inheritance, but I took everything back with interest. If you've ever been betrayed by family, hit like and subscribe. Now, listen to a story of family, greed, and cold justice that doesn't come quickly, but strikes exactly where it should. We grew up in a small suburb, in a house with a white porch and an old maple tree that whispered through the nights. My father built that house with his own hands. He always said, the most valuable thing is not the walls, but keeping your word. The year he died, only one person stopped keeping his word, my older brother, Ethan. At the funeral, people spoke softly, gave empty hugs and rehearsed condolences. Ethan stood beside me, his hand on my shoulder. The air smelled of lilies and wet earth. We'll get through this, brother, he said, and I nodded, staring at the glossy coffin lid. Back then, I still believed him. A week later, the lawyer gathered us in his office. An iron lamp, stacks of files, and that dry tone with which someone reads out other people's fates. The will was simple: the house, a small savings account, and the share in Dad's workshop. Everything divided equally, half and half. I clenched my fist under the table, not out of greed, but at how simple and fair it all sounded. When we walked outside, the cold wind chased yellow leaves down the pavement. It's fair, I said. Ethan smiled. Of course it's fair. The next day, my keys suddenly didn't fit. The locks had been changed. A sign from a private security company hung on the door. I called my brother, no answer. An hour later, I got an email. For your own good, don't get involved. Dad wanted the house to be mine. I'll handle it. Attached was a copy of an addendum, supposedly signed by our father a month before his death, transferring the entire house to Ethan. Dad's signature looked rounder than usual, like someone had carefully drawn it. Cold crept over me. I could have stormed and shouted, pounded the door with my fists. Instead, I sat in my car, closed my eyes, and did what my father had taught me: breathe. Count. Think. I didn't touch the locks. I pulled the thread. First, the notary who allegedly certified the addendum. He had suddenly gone on vacation. Then the registrar, where the document had been filed on a Friday night when the office was almost empty. Then the bank statements from my father's account, where in the last weeks before his death strange cash withdrawals had appeared. And in every place, Ethan's name popped up sideways: his secretary friend, his longtime buddy at the bank, his frequent client number in the registry. I hired a handwriting expert. He stared through his magnifier for a long time, then said, "This signature is not natural handwriting. It's an imitation, drawn over. Probability to 95%. I asked him to put it in writing. The paper smelled of fresh ink and truth. At the same time, I found one of Dad's old notebooks where he de-recorded every bill for the house, every check. On the last page, a neat line: house, half and half. Keep your word. I photographed it and sent copies to the lawyer and to my mother. Yes, my mother. She had lived separately for years, but still wore the little silver heart Dad had given her when they were 20. He wouldn't have done that, she said over the phone, not only to your brother. He loved you both the same. For the first time in years, her voice carried certainty I hadn't heard before. A month later, my lawyer and I filed a lawsuit to invalidate the addendum for fraud, forgery, illegal log changes, and seizure of shared property. My brother texted me a single emoji and wrote, "You'll regret this." That night, all 4 tires on my car were slashed. A neighbor's camera caught only a hood and a shadow. I still didn't call him. I filed a police report. The first court hearing was like a cold shower. Ethan's lawyer spoke smoothly, producing witness statements from Dad's acquaintances, claiming Dad wanted to give the house to his eldest son. I sat there listening to them turn my father into a stranger. My hands shook. When the judge asked if we had anything else, I stood up and presented the expert's report. The judge frowned as he flipped through the pages. "An independent examination is ordered," he said. And at that moment, I saw the corner of Ethan's mouth twitch, nervous. Outside the court, Ethan came close. The smell of his expensive cologne overpowered the furniture polish. "Listen, brother," he whispered, as if bargaining. "Let's do this. You keep the account money, I keep the house. You won't live there anyway." His smile was as empty as an old envelope. I answered just as quietly, "The house, half and half. Keep your word," and I walked past. Ethan went all in. He transferred the house to a third party, his partner, trying to hide the asset. We found out 2 weeks later from the registry. Rage boiled in me, thick and black. But law is chess. Step by step, we petitioned for a freeze on all property until the case was resolved. The court granted it. Any transactions with the house suspended. Ethan, as partner, sent a lawyer with puppy dog eyes. We didn't know it was disputed. I handed him a copy of the court order and said, "Now you know." Meanwhile, I found the final nail. On Dad's old laptop, which Ethan must have thought was junk and left in the garage, was a scanned letter from my father to the notary, dated 6 months before his death. In it, he asked to prepare a simple inheritance scheme, half and half between sons, no addendums. The letter had an outgoing number, confirmed by the notary's office. I remember sitting under the kitchen lamp at night, staring at that letter, and my eyes stung, not from anger, from relief. Dad had said exactly what I felt, half and half. Keep your word. At the third hearing, our lawyer laid it all out. The expert reports, the bank withdrawals, the accountant's testimony, the notary letter, Dad's notes. Ethan finally went silent. He stared at the table as if looking for an exit. The judge delivered the decision. The addendum is null and void. The house and assets are to be divided equally. The defendant's actions are classified as attempted fraud. Materials to be forwarded to law enforcement for review. The courtroom was silent except for the clerk's keys clicking. I exhaled. The world was sharper, the air lighter. But I didn't stop there. With interest wasn't about greed. It was about accountability. We won compensation for the illegal lock change for the withdrawn cash for the attempted property transfer. The court awarded damages and interest for the use of funds. With that money, I restored Dad's workshop, painted the sign, polished the bench, brought back the smell of sawdust and oil. Every morning I walk past Dad's notebook where in neat letters it says, "Keep your word." Months later, on Thanksgiving, the family gathered at Mom's. The table, the turkey, candles, foil crinkling, and the eyes of people who had long tried not to get involved. Ethan came last, sat across from me. His eyes had no arrogance, only fatigue. He looked up and finally said the words he should have said years ago. "I am sorry." The word rang out like a fork hitting porcelain, awkward and loud. I nodded. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means you stop carrying someone else's guilt in your own pocket. That night I stepped onto the porch. November air was sharp, the stars like shards of glass. I thought about how revenge for revenge's sake is empty. What we did wasn't revenge. It was justice. To put the wall back, return the roof to the house, call things by their names. And yes, to take back what was mine with interest. Not interest in money, but in peace. Restored when you stand your ground, refuse to betray yourself, even if others betray you. I used to think betrayal only comes from strangers, but the deepest cuts are from family. And yet it isn't a life sentence. It's a lesson. Dad was right. The most valuable thing is keeping your word. I did. And the world answered in kind. And now tell me, have you ever had to fight for justice against your own family? Which story of family karma has stayed with you the most? Share it in the comments. I want to hear your truth.